You bought the gloves, pinned the ideas, and told yourself this was finally going to be your year. Then life happened. You watered twice, forgot for 2 weeks, and half your plants just gave up. Honestly, so had you. And that used to be every single spring for a lot of us too. Money spent, time wasted, guilt every time you walked past those sad, struggling garden beds. Here's the thing nobody really tells you, and it genuinely changes everything once you know it. You don't need to be a dedicated gardener to have a genuinely gorgeous yard full of color. You just need to plant the right things from the very start, built for how busy life actually is. Today we're covering 15 perennials made for busy people who want beauty without babysitting. Every single one earned its spot for a reason, and none of them demand daily attention from you. Plant number 9 alone is worth sticking around for, so let's get straight into the list. Every plant here was picked specifically because it forgives the kind of neglect real life brings. Plant number 1 is hostas, and if you've got a shady spot with no idea what to do with it, this fixes that. Hostas are grown mainly for their foliage, and those leaves are genuinely stunning up close. Think huge, bold, architectural leaves in deep green, blue-green, golden chartreuse, and variegated combos. Some varieties stay compact at 6 inches across, while others spread out to 4 feet wide. The bigger ones easily become the centerpiece of an entire shady bed all on their own. They thrive in shade, doing beautifully in spots where most other flowering plants tend to struggle. Once established, they're surprisingly drought-tolerant and come back bigger every single year. Slugs can occasionally bother the leaves, but most established plants shrug off minor damage fine. They're almost completely hands-off once they're settled into the ground and growing well. Hostas are hardy across USDA zones 3 through 9, covering the vast majority of the country. If you've got a problem shady corner in your yard, hostas fix it, full stop, no exceptions. They also pair beautifully with ferns and astilbe for a layered, textured shade garden look. Plant number 2 is Black-Eyed Susan, and this one is genuinely almost impossible to kill outright. Those classic, cheerful, bright yellow flowers with the dark brown center show up in meadows everywhere. There's a real reason they show up along roadsides and gardens across the entire country. They're drought-tolerant, and they self-seed, giving you more plants next year without any effort. They attract butterflies and bees in huge numbers, and they're native to North America too. Being native means they evolved to thrive here without needing any help from you at all. They bloom from midsummer through fall, giving you months of bold, cheerful color to enjoy. Deadhead them for even more blooms, or just leave them alone and let them do their own thing. They're also incredibly budget-friendly, since a single packet of seeds can fill an entire bed over time. Black-Eyed Susans are hardy across zones 3 through 9, making them incredibly adaptable. They also make wonderful cut flowers, lasting well over a week in a simple kitchen vase. Plant number 3 is coneflower, also known by its botanical name, Echinacea, and it's a must-grow. These tall, daisy-like flowers come in purple, pink, white, orange, and yellow, all striking. They handle heat, drought, and poor soil, while attracting pollinators throughout a long blooming season. Leave the seed heads standing in fall instead of cutting them back, and songbirds feed on them all winter. That gives you beautiful structure in the garden even through the coldest, bleakest months. Deadhead for more blooms, or leave them completely alone. Either way, the garden looks intentional. Coneflowers also handle poor, rocky soil that would leave most other flowering perennials struggling. Coneflowers are hardy across zones 3 through 9, handling both cold winters and hot summers well. They also tolerate mass planting beautifully, creating a bold drift of color along any border. Plant number 4 is daylilies, the classic workhorse that's been in gardens for generations. There are over 80,000 registered cultivars in hot orange, creamy yellow, burgundy, and pink. There's genuinely a daylily for every style and taste imaginable, which is part of the appeal. They're aggressively easy to grow in full sun or part shade, clay soil, sandy soil, or slopes. They grow in dense clumps that naturally crowd out weeds while multiplying on their own over time. Every few years you can divide the clumps and plant more for free, expanding your garden at no cost. Newer, reblooming varieties also give you a second flush of color later in the summer season. The only real task is dividing them every 4 to 5 years once the clumps start looking crowded. One important note, Daylilies are toxic specifically to cats, so plant with that awareness if relevant. Daylilies are hardy across zones 3 through 9, with newer varieties even reaching zone 10. Each individual bloom only lasts a single day, but new flowers keep opening for weeks straight. Plant number 5 is lavender, and if you've never grown it, today's genuinely a good day to start. Lavender actually prefers a little neglect, wanting poor, lean, well-draining soil above all else. It doesn't want heavy fertilizing or wet feed, and overwatering is really the main way to kill it. If you're the type who forgets about plants for stretches of time, lavender is basically made for you. It blooms in those iconic fragrant purple spikes that stay beautiful and long-lasting in the garden. It's also a natural insect repellent, so planting it near a patio actually helps reduce mosquitoes. In mild climates, it stays evergreen, giving your garden structure and interest all year round. The less you fuss over lavender, honestly, the better it tends to perform in the long run. Bees adore lavender too, making it a favorite stop for pollinators throughout its long bloom period. Lavender suits zones 5 through 9 for most common varieties, with English lavender the hardiest. If you're in zone 4 or colder, treat it as an annual or grow it in containers you can move indoors. The dried flowers also work wonderfully in sachets, homemade teas, and even light baking recipes. We're 5 plants in, and you might be wondering when we get to the truly indestructible ones. Plant number 7 specifically has never died on us, not even once, so keep reading through the list. Plant number 6 is astilbe, and it's one of the most underrated perennials on this entire list. If you've got a shaded area under mature trees or a north-facing bed, most flowers struggle there. Astilbe absolutely thrives in that exact spot, producing feathery, plume-like flower stalks. Those plumes come in pink, red, white, purple, and lavender, looking like fireworks frozen mid-burst. Depending on the variety, you can get blooms from early summer all the way through late summer. Astilbe does appreciate consistent moisture, making it one of the few non-drought lovers on this list. It does best with regular watering, especially in warmer climates where the soil dries out fast. Beyond that, it's genuinely low maintenance, rewarding you with bigger blooms every season. Astilbe is hardy across zones 3 through 8, thriving especially in cooler, moister regions. In zone 8 or warmer, make sure it gets afternoon shade along with consistent watering. Plant several varieties together, and you'll get staggered blooms across the entire summer season. Plant number 7 is sedum, also called stonecrop. And yes, this is the one that cannot be killed. Sedum comes in low-growing spreading varieties and taller upright types like the famous autumn joy. Both types share one fundamental superpower: they're succulents that store water in fleshy leaves. That makes them virtually drought-proof, thriving in rocky soil, sandy soil, and full blazing sun. Forget to water for a month, and honestly, sedum genuinely does not care one bit. Autumn joy specifically puts on a theatrical seasonal show, starting pale pink and deepening to rust bronze. That structure holds well into winter, giving you visual interest long after everything else fades. This is the plant to reach for in every difficult, hot, dry, sunny spot in your yard. It also looks great tucked between paving stones, where it tolerates light foot traffic just fine. Sedum is hardy across zones 3 through 9, with some creeping varieties even reaching zone 2. Bees and butterflies flock to the flat flower heads right through the last warm days of fall. Plant number 8 is perennial salvia, specifically Salvia nemorosa, not the annual kind. These are compact, upright plants covered in rich violet blue, purple, or pink flower spikes. They bloom heavily in late spring and early summer, and cutting them back triggers a second bloom. That's 2 rounds of flowers for the effort of just one simple pruning session in summer. Pollinators absolutely love them, while deer and rabbits tend to avoid the aromatic foliage entirely. They handle heat and drought well, and they don't want to be fertilized heavily at all. The one thing that reliably kills them is overwatering or sitting in poorly drained soil. Give them sun and decent drainage, and they'll perform beautifully for years without much fuss. Perennial salvia is hardy across zones 4 through 9, tough and reliable across a wide range. Plant it alongside catmint or yarrow for a naturalistic, low-maintenance border that thrives together. Plant number 9 is Russian sage, the one I promised you earlier, and it's genuinely worth the wait. Despite the name, it isn't actually a true sage, and it isn't actually from Russia either. What it is, though, is one of the most architectural and effortlessly elegant plants you can grow. From midsummer through fall, it sends up tall, airy stems covered in tiny lavender-blue flowers. The whole plant has a misty, cloud-like quality that shimmers and moves beautifully in the breeze. The care requirements are almost laughably simple, wanting full sun and poor to average soil. It actually performs better in lean soil than rich soil, along with excellent drainage. It's extremely drought-tolerant once established, deer-resistant, and tolerates neglect almost joyfully. Heavy fertilizing actually makes it floppy and reduces its natural, wild elegance in the garden. In return for a little toughness, it gives you 3 to 4 months of breathtaking color and texture. This is the plant that makes people stop and ask what it is every single time they see it. And the honest answer is that it's one of the absolute easiest plants you'll ever grow. Russian sage is hardy across zones 4 through 9, excelling in hot, dry regions of the country. In zone 4, cut it back to about 6 inches in late fall, and it returns reliably each spring. Its silvery texture also makes a striking contrast against darker green foliage nearby. Plant number 10 is catmint, and if you want season-long color with almost no effort, this is it. Catmint forms soft mounds covered in clouds of small lavender-blue flowers through the season. It blooms heavily in spring, and cutting it back by a third after that triggers a late summer rebloom. It has a relaxed cottage garden quality that makes any space look effortlessly designed. It handles sun and partial shade, grows in poor soil, and stays drought-tolerant once established. It doesn't need fertilizing, making it one of the most genuinely hands-off plants on this list. It works beautifully as edging along paths and borders, softening hard lines with a flowing habit. Fair warning, cats may roll in it enthusiastically, which honestly is kind of entertaining to watch. It also pairs beautifully with roses, softening their formal look with a loose, cottage-style edge. Catmint is hardy across zones 3 through 8, extremely cold hardy for northern gardeners. It also tends to bounce back quickly after a hard rain, unlike many other flowering perennials. We're halfway through, and the last 5 include 2 ground covers that eliminate your weeding problem. Plant number 11 is yarrow, tough, cheerful, and it practically grows itself without much input. Yarrow has flat-topped clusters of tiny flowers sitting above feathery fern-like foliage. It comes in reds, yellows, pinks, creams, and whites, giving off a relaxed cottage garden feel. Yarrow started as a wildflower, and that toughness is genuinely borderline legendary in gardens. It tolerates drought, poor soil, heat, and very low fertility without missing a beat. It self-seeds and spreads gradually, filling gaps in your garden without any extra effort from you. Deadheading spent blooms encourages more flowers, and the cut flowers dry beautifully for arrangements. In very rich, fertile soil, yarrow can spread aggressively, so give it leaner conditions if possible. It's also naturally resistant to most pests, rarely needing any kind of spray or treatment. Yarrow is hardy across zones 3 through 9, one of the most cold, hardy plants on this list. It also works well in gravel gardens and xeriscaping projects where water conservation matters most. Plant number 12 is coreopsis, or tickseed, which is basically pure sunshine in plant form. It produces bright, button-like flowers primarily in cheerful yellow, along with pink and orange varieties. It blooms for an extraordinarily long season, sometimes starting in late spring and running to frost. It's extremely heat and drought tolerant, genuinely preferring lean soil over rich fertilized beds. Over-fertilizing actually makes it floppy and reduces the total number of flowers it produces. Many modern varieties are self-cleaning, meaning old spent flowers drop off without any deadheading needed. That means genuinely non-stop color through the season, with almost nothing asked of you in return. Coreopsis is hardy across zones 3 through 9, excellent for hot, sunny gardens in the south. It also attracts a steady stream of butterflies throughout its long, cheerful blooming season. Plant number 13 is liriope, also called lily turf, and it solves a real common garden problem. It looks like a grass, but is actually a flowering perennial with dark, strappy, arching leaves. In late summer, it sends up spikes of small purple or white flowers that are genuinely charming. The real reason to grow it is what it does as a ground cover and reliable edging plant. It handles deep shade and full sun alike, tolerating drought, compacted soil, and steep slopes. Once established, it forms a dense mat that crowds out most weeds while holding soil on hillsides. In mild climates, it stays evergreen through winter, handling those dry, root-choked spots under trees. It's not the flashiest plant on this list, but it may honestly be the most genuinely useful one. Liriope is hardy across zones 5 through 10, especially popular in the southeast and mid-Atlantic. It's often used along driveways and walkways since it holds up well to occasional foot traffic. Plant number 14 is creeping phlox, delivering more visual drama for less effort than almost anything. In spring, it produces such a thick carpet of flowers that the foliage nearly disappears underneath. Hot pink, magenta, purple, white, and lavender blooms cascade over rocks and tumble down slopes. It genuinely looks like you spent serious money and time achieving that kind of dramatic effect. After blooming, it becomes a neat, tidy evergreen mat that holds soil in place and crowds out weeds. This plant looks intentional and expensive in rock gardens, slopes, and along the top of walls. The maintenance is just a light trim after blooming to keep the whole mat looking compact. That single trim genuinely represents the entire annual care routine this plant requires from you. Creeping phlox is hardy across zones 3 through 9, especially beautiful in the northeast. In warmer zones, give it good drainage and some afternoon shade during the hottest summer months. It's a favorite for softening the base of mailboxes, retaining walls, and garden stairways too. Plant number 15 is Carl Forster feather reed grass, saved for last on purpose to end strong. It grows 4 to 6 feet tall in a neat, upright clump that doesn't flop or spread aggressively. In late spring, it sends up feathery green flower plumes that catch the light beautifully all season. By midsummer, those plumes mature to warm gold, then transition to rich bronze gold by fall. In winter, it holds its structure through cold snow and wind, swaying and catching the light. This is a genuine 4-season plant, interesting and beautiful in every single month of the year. It's drought-tolerant once established, needs no fertilizing, and requires no staking or support at all. The entire annual task is one hard cutback in late winter, trimmed down to 4 to 6 inches. That's genuinely the whole maintenance routine, just one haircut per year for this striking grass. Deer and rabbits tend to leave ornamental grasses like this one alone almost entirely too. Carl Forster feather reed grass is hardy across zones 4 through 9, thriving in most climates. In zone 4, cut it back in fall rather than spring for the harshest winter conditions. It also makes an excellent natural privacy screen when planted in a row along a property line. Let's bring this all together by thinking about these plants based on where you actually need them. For shady spots, hostas, astilbe, and liriope will completely transform any dark, difficult corner. For hot, dry, sunny spots, black-eyed Susan, sedum, yarrow, coreopsis, and Russian sage all thrive. For edges and ground cover, creeping phlox, catmint, and liriope crowd out weeds while looking great. For color, fragrance, and pollinators, lavender, coneflower, salvia, and daylilies deliver every time. For structure and drama, Russian sage and Carl Forster grass make your whole garden look designed. Mixing plants from different categories together creates a garden that stays interesting all season. Here's the thing worth remembering before you go plant anything from this entire list today. You don't need a green thumb, hours of free time, or years of gardening knowledge to start. You just need to begin with the right plants, and everything else genuinely follows from there. Small, consistent choices, made once at planting time, save you years of frustration down the road. Pick 3 from this list, just 3, and plant them sometime this season to see what happens. Once you see how little these plants need from you and how much beauty they bring back, you'll wonder why you waited. There's nothing quite like walking outside on a summer morning with coffee, looking at a thriving garden, knowing you made that happen, and that it was genuinely easier than you ever expected it to be. That feeling alone is worth more than any amount of fancy garden equipment you could buy. If this helped you today, drop a comment and let us know which of these 15 you're starting with. Now go get your hands a little dirty. You've genuinely got everything you need to get started. See you in the very next one, and as always, happy planting out there in the garden.